What's up guys, Romsicle here, and this is the GMMK Pro full review and everything you need to know about it. If you haven't bought the GMMK Pro yet, I urge you to check this video of the configurator of what other items can be included in your purchase. But first, let's take a look at the overall design of the keyboard. Although it looks quite similar to the Satisfaction 75, the fundamentals are quite different. So this is a bare bones 75% kit with a full aluminum construction that's smooth to the touch. The edges are nice and precision cut, whether it's around the switch area portion or just the edges in general. From the top, you can see the high profile case with the aluminum plates and hot swap PCB underneath. On the sides, you have a rounded diffusion window for the side LEDs and shows the 6-degree typing angle here. On the backside, we have a recessed USB-C cable that's right in the middle, and on the bottom we have the glorious logo deeply embossed into the case with some simple foam as feet to protect the metal. This keyboard consists of a top case, a plate, foam, PCB, and then another piece of foam on the bottom tray, which also is the heaviest portion of the keyboard. And at the very bottom we have the USB-C circuit board as well as the connector cable that powers the PCB. Moving back to the top, we have a removable rotary knob that has a smooth top surface and a grippy side for easy controlling. It's very easy to move with just one finger and is quite smooth despite having notches all around, and it also doubles down as a button with a very tactile click. And when we take off the knob, you can see the D-shaped stem. This piece has a diameter of 5mm, so if you want to replace it with some parts on AliExpress, you can do so and they will be linked down below. And underneath the top case, we have the 11 gasket foam pieces that sandwich the custom plate with the other 12 pieces on the bottom tray here. These foam pieces are surprisingly thin at around 2.5mm, so it's just barely enough to give us the gasket mount feature. They also provide an extra set of 1mm gasket strips to add on to the existing foams to increase the acoustic quality. So if you want the best sound, you want to put these on. And now let's take a look at the glorious stabs here, and as you can see, they are hella factory lubed. It's got a super thick consistency to it, kind of like super lube, but it's put in all the wrong places, and I'll let you guys hear what it sounds like first. There's literally lube all over the place from the middle of the stab wire as well as outside of the housing, which is really wild. And not to mention, it's very sticky, so cleaning these stabs will be a hell of a chore in itself, so I would highly suggest getting some aftermarket stabs. So of course I replaced them with some lubed Zeal stabilizers and now they sound amazing. If we compare the size of the stabilizers, we can see that the Glorious stabs are significantly smaller than all the other stabilizers. From small to large, we have Glorious, C3, Zeal, GMK, and then the Duroc V2s. And now moving down to the plate, this keyboard already comes with an aluminum plate, but you can choose to get a polycarbonate plate or even a brass plate. The edges of the plates are fairly smooth and aren't rugged, which is a good thing. You also get these edges that are directly screwed into the PCB via these holes with some alignment nubs, which aren't typically found on a traditional gasket mount keyboard. But since it is connected here, that means the typing experience is going to be slightly stiffer than a traditional gasket mount keyboard. You also have these two posts that connect the PCB and the plate in the center, and you can opt to take them out to give yourself a much softer typing experience. For the PC plate, you can see that the cut edges are very sharp and angular. The plate material is also quite soft, so it helps fit stabilizers better, and thankfully, all stabilizer brands will work on this plate. But for the aluminum and brass plate, they're made via a punch-in method instead of being laser cut. So if you take a look at the edges, you can clearly see how the metal bends inward. And the width of the stabilizer spot ends up just being slightly smaller, making thicker stabilizers such as Duroc not fit at all. One thing to note is that GMK stabs will barely make the cut, and you will actually cut a bit into the plastic because you're quite literally forcing the stab through the hole. And we do have some fairly airy dampening foam between the plate and the PCB connected by a piece of tape to make alignment much easier. And right beside the foam is a translucent piece that helps diffuse the LEDs that are right underneath on the PCB. So you get double the diffusion on the side LEDs to make them flow real smoothly. Lastly, one of the main selling points of the GMMK Pro is the hot swappability of the PCB. But despite this board having a 5-pin design, the holes are extremely loose. So whenever you're doing your initial testing of your lube stabilizers, you want to make sure that it's not the switch that's making the rattly noises. Another tip for you is that when you're removing switches that are near the top case, I would highly recommend you taking off the top case just so that you don't scratch the metal. And because this PCB has south-facing sockets, that means it's going to be fully compatible with GMK keycaps. And the RGB lighting just makes the keyboard all the more better. Now when it comes to the software, the Glorious Core program is fairly basic, but it does get the job done. On the top left, you have profiles that you can export and import. You have lighting controls with a bunch of presets, as well as being able to fully customize per key lighting. You also have custom key mapping to match your workflow, but there are a few things that make this program suck. Firstly, you can only remap one key at a time. So you have to click a key, change it, save, then move on to the next edit. You also can't remap a backslash because in the list of keys available, they actually have 2 forward slashes instead, so it's pretty bad on Glorious's part considering how much time they had to perfect this program. Secondly, only the tactile button of the rotary knob can be remapped while the spinning feature cannot be changed. With the volume wheel, when you scroll clockwise, the volume goes up and vice versa. But as for someone who uses the volume wheel like this, which I'm pretty sure everyone else is doing the same thing, I would have expected a $170 keyboard to give me the option to reverse it like on the Razer Huntsman Elite. For the enthusiasts who like using the GMMK configurator, the first thing you want to do before building is flash the GMMK Pro. Go to the bottom of the PCB and you'll see a reset button. Press the button while you're connecting the keyboard to your computer and you will go into the bootloader mode. And make sure your new firmware has a reset remap so you don't have to disassemble the keyboard every time you want to change the layout. Here's the layout I use if you want to copy it, and it will be linked in the description. For the record, at the time of filming, the GMMK Pro does not support RGB lighting control through GMMK. So if you want backlighting, you'll have to stick to the stock firmware until an update happens. Kind of disappointing that Glorious couldn't make this happen on release day. Now when it comes to the overall building experience of this keyboard, it's very simple just like all custom keyboards. Each part has a different screw length, so it's pretty difficult to mess things up. One nice thing is that on the PCB, the stabilizer screw holes have a white ring around it to make it easier to find. And if you're just going to be putting switches and keycaps under this keyboard, then of course it's going to be even easier for you. But I highly suggest you at least change the stabilizers first. So the final verdict. Should you guys get the GMMK Pro? The answer will always be a yes, and the reasoning is quite clear. This is a 75% gasket mount keyboard with a base price of $170. That's incredible. That's the cheapest price you're ever going to be able to find right now for this kind of build. The overall quality and construction of this keyboard is very good. It's not the highest quality, but it's the most worth it for the price that you're paying for. Besides the subpar Glorious stabilizers and the compatibility issues of the brass and aluminum plates and the program limitations, this keyboard is still a great buy for anyone. If you're just coming into the mechanical keyboard scene, this is the last keyboard you'll have to buy because it is everything you need. Hot swappable south-facing switches, interchangeable plates, screw-in stabilizers, gasket mounted, GMMK compatibility, and RGB lighting everywhere. The GMMK Pro is your endgame keyboard. But for the enthusiasts, we know that this is not the best keyboard out there, but you are getting the highest quality for the cheapest price possible. Diminishing return is the name of the game, and right now the GMMK Pro sits at the peak of custom mechanical keyboards in terms of cost versus quality. If you go past that point, you're entering luxury mechanical keyboards, where cases can cost up to $300, $500, and even $2,000, and the diminishing return drops drastically. And if we compare the GMMK Pro to a luxury and mechanical keyboard, the difference is this. The GMMK Pro is sold in bulk production, which reduces the overall costs. While most luxury keyboards are designed and launched by individuals from the community with the help of manufacturers through group buys. The scarcity and self-management of these releases results in a much larger initial cost, not to mention the insane quality of the product itself already, resulting in much higher prices for the end consumer. Also, the group buys tend to only go for one round, and whatever is released is all there is in the world, so you have to account for rarity too. Stabilizer compatibility will never be an issue, and honestly, at this price point it should never be, so shame on Glorious for trying to cut corners when making their metal plates. The gasket mount feature is nice to have, but the implementation is subpar. On a typical luxury and mechanical keyboard, the gasket strips are significantly thicker, creating a more even and a more isolated typing experience. With the GMMK Pro, you're getting 2.5mm plus that extra 1mm strip. Meanwhile, on the KBD D65, you're getting around 5 to 6mm of gasket foam. That's a huge difference. But once again, you are paying for less. Is the GMMK Pro functionally any less than those $500, $1,200 keyboards? Absolutely not. But when it comes to the little details that enthusiasts think about, like plate design, gasket thickness, acoustics, material quality, and exclusivity to name a few, there absolutely is a difference. The elitists of the mechanical keyboard community can say all they want about the GMMK Pro not being that good to something similar like the Satisfaction 75, and in reality, it is not. Fundamentally, it's definitely different because the build quality is different, but functionally, it's exactly the same. The keyboard still works the exact same way as intended. And you really have to keep in mind that you are paying a cost that is like a quarter of the price of a key cult commission or any kind of luxury top mount, sandwich mount, or gasket mount keyboard anywhere. With luxury custom mechanical keyboards, exclusivity and quality and all those little intricacies are what makes it reasonable to spend the amount that they cost. To put it simply, if you get the GMMK Pro, don't call it the best luxury keyboard because it's not a luxury board. At least I don't consider it one. It's the best custom mechanical keyboard that you can get for its price. It's the best bang for your buck keyboard that you can find on the market right now. In terms of layout, build quality, functionality, flexibility, and price point, you're getting the most out of what you're paying for. The GMMK Pro is 100% worth it. To close off the video, I really hope that Glorious sells all the parts of the keyboard separately so that if something gets damaged, we can just buy a single part and get it fixed. I know they already do that with the plates, but getting a replaceable PCB is definitely going to be something that I'm looking forward to, but who knows. If you want to know what other switches sound like on the GMMK Pro, I'm going to have a video linked right up here once it's uploaded. It's going to be like 15 different switches on all 3 plates, so it should be a pretty interesting video to look forward to. And of course, as always, 100% accuracy. If you made it this far, thanks for watching, and I hope this video gave you way more insight than watching all the other keyboard reviews combined without wasting your time, because that's the goal here. Hit the like button for the algorithm, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.